Hi everyone, Engineer Liu here. So on this video I would like to do something a little bit different. Everyone's talking a lot about ChatGPT and its capabilities, and I'm curious to see if it can manage to write a safe version of string copy and string compare, which string copy actually string cat, which were functions we talked about on our last video on string manipulation in the C programming language. So let's try it out. If you remember, let's see here what we got. Yeah, so this was our version of string length, and then we wrote our own version of string cat. And yeah, let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. Okay, so yeah, write a safe version of the function string cat in from string.h library of the C programming language that prevents buffer overruns. Okay, so write a safe version of the function string cat from string.h library of the C programming language that prevents buffer overruns. So yeah, here is a safe version of string cat that prevents buffer overruns. Okay, so standard IO, standard library. Yeah, it defines a max buffer size. We haven't talked about the preprocessor directives yet, but I'll get to that. So yeah, void save. Okay, save string cat. So size t destination string. So he takes up. Let me paste this into a code. Okay, so let's go to tutorial 16, I guess, example 22, and then we paste this code snippet, and then int creator function main, and makes return 0. So yeah, so this isn't properly formatted. Let me just leave it like that. Okay, so okay, so it defines a max buffer size, which is simply a macro, like a constant you can use throughout your program. And basically it calls two size t variables to store the destination string length and then the source string length, where this string here will be concatenated to the destination, and then it checks if the length of the destination string plus the length of the source string plus 1, which accounts for the new character, is greater than the max buffer size. Then yeah, it prints then to the standard error, which is basically a fancier form of the printf function, but we could use here printf nevertheless. So error destination buffer is not large enough to concatenate the given strings. Okay, so I guess here it accounts that this buffer here where you would store concatenate the strings, it will have max buffer size, and then it will then so let's check here. This function first gets the length of the string. Okay, then checks the combined string plus 1 for the no terminator is larger than the maximum size. If it is, you can adjust the value of max buffer size. Okay, can you give an example of usage of this function that you just wrote? Okay, so yeah, so as I was saying, as I was suspecting, it okay, so as I was suspecting, it defined. Let me print this to this code snipper here to here, so you can see it better. So basically, yeah. So it creates a buffer with a max buffer size, which defined as 100, and then basically it copies the string hello to the buffer and then use the string concatenation to the buffer. Okay, so it's simple as that. So for this to work, and in order for this to work, you have to define a max buffer size, a max string size that you have to work in a program, which may cause various limitations depending on the size of the strings you're working with. So for this solution of the ChatGPT, you would like to you would have to know an average, at least the size, or the at least, or in worst case, the largest size of the strings you're working with, to avoid incurring into errors. But yeah, this would work and will be safe and will prevent your program to having buffer overflows, buffer overruns, as you might say. So let's see if there is a safe solution to this without using a max buffer size. So let's ask it. Yeah, so he gives an example of a string that is too long and then exceeds the buffer size, and then you want it will print an error because the buffer isn't large enough to accommodate both strings, right? So let me try this. Can you write a safe version of strcat without using max buffer size? Okay, so here's a version of safe strcat function that does not use a fixed maximum buffer size, but rather takes the maximum size of the buffer as an argument. So that's more interesting and more flexible than the above solution, like you don't rely on preprocessor directives. So yeah, so he gives an example, and you can also use this function a larger than the maximum size of buffer, like this. And okay, so it gives an example where we would crash. So yeah, I guess this works a little bit well. It works better than the other solution. So let's erase this one here, but we keep this macro nevertheless for buffer, and we erase this function here. Okay, so we'll leave it at 100. Yeah, no, we'll leave it at let's say 256, like for account for power of 2 number. And so it's basically the same function, the same error message, but you can see there's an extra argument that it requires, like different from the other one he wrote. So here, instead of using max buffer size here, it uses this argument max size, which would be then, I believe, the size of the buffer, right? So say strcat here, max buffer size, which was a macro we defined, but it could really be any number here, but it must correspond to the size of this buffer here, which is a string, right? So let's check an example. Yes, size of buffer. It will give us the size of this buffer in bytes, which is not the same as the string length. The string length will give 0 on this case. So size of buffer. And then it would be a version that will avoid buffer overruns. So that's great. Okay, so a little bit more on macros, because I haven't talked about preprocessor directives and macros. So basically this is a constant. It will be pretty much like a global variable, a constant global variable which you can modify, but you can use throughout all your program, like inside any function that you write and inside the main functions and so on. But yeah, it would pretty much be similar as using a constant qualifier, like we create an unsigned const, unsigned int buffer size, like this. We initialize it at 256, so it will be pretty much the same thing. So as I didn't really talk about type qualifiers in C, so I won't get into that, but we'll leave this one here for now. This one isn't formatted, and yeah, I guess this will work. Yeah, it seems good to me. So we have the buffer and the string that will be concatenated, the source string, which will be concatenated on the buffer, and then we give a third argument, which is the size of the buffer. So let's see if this works, right? So let's make it the tests that ChatGPT showed us. So I guess it will work. Yeah. And let's try it out if the buffer size is, say, only 8 bytes. Okay, so compile, run. Yeah, we got an error, which is error. The destination buffer is not large enough to concatenate a given string. So yeah, it actually works, and best thing of all, it's safe. So you're safe from buffer overflows and getting hacked, right? That's what we want. That's in fact, that's what we don't want, is to get hacked. So I leave this here at 256, and that's pretty much it. Just regarding printf, actually we can use this function to write to files, like a file descriptor. I will get into that in another lecture, but basically the standard error would be the output in your terminal or your shell, right? And then here we got the string argument, which acts pretty much like a printf. So, and then we have exit. So it will exit with status code 1, which indicates that an error occurred. Okay. So yeah, it will be, I guess it will be it for this tutorial. Hope you guys enjoyed, and as you can see, ChatGPT can help you write safe code in C, of course, if you give it the right instructions. So yeah, see you next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Activate notifications as well, and see you next time. Bye.